Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's CX Quick Tips. It is May 4th, 2021, and I've got my good friend, Steve DiGioia, with me. Steve, welcome.
Thank you so much, Jim. Anytime I see your smiling face, it brightens up my day as well. Thank
Oh,
you.
man, thanks. I appreciate that. Okay, so now, for those of you who have not participated or watched the CX Quick Tips, in 10 minutes, we get down on a subject, or not down, we get deep in a subject as much as we possibly can so that you have actionable insights. And we're doing these broadcasts every single Tuesday at 1:05 Eastern. So we look forward to seeing you at future CX Quick Tips as well, and then sharing this one. Steve, okay, so you wanted to talk about customer service standards that remove management headaches. And you and I had an exchange prior to us broadcasting here. Give us a little bit of understanding in what you're talking about, because there's a couple things. First of all, is that when we're talking about these customer service standards, that yes, they absolutely work in contact centers, but they're also can be used in other organizations that are providing service as well. So what do you mean by removing management headaches?
Well, as we all understand, no matter what part of the industry that we're in on the customer service side, we're dealing with a living, breathing human. And whether that person is online, on an email, face to face, it's very difficult. And what I've found through most of my hospitality career and also doing training for other companies is we don't do a good enough job at maintaining our standards, our SOPs, standard operating procedures, the procedures that we actually operate our business at. And how that happens is we may be great, 364 days of the year at following everything exactly as we're expected to from our management or from our ownership. Our customers are happy, your employees are happy, everything is wonderful. But maybe if somebody calls out sick today, or if the manager is not paying attention because he or she has other responsibilities and they're not on the floor watching, or if we're very busy, many times the employees will do what they think is best. But many times when they're stressed out, when they're harried, when they don't have the support that they believe they should get or need, they start doing whatever they think is best. Unfortunately, many times what's best for them is not what's best for the customer, what's best for the company as a whole. And little by little, if management doesn't go about their ownership and pulls it all back in and said, okay, I know we had a little hiccup today. We had to take some shortcuts today for whatever the reason. But as of right now, or as of tomorrow, we're getting back to our core way of operating. The expectations are still as high as they have ever been. But if we don't do that, then tomorrow we may take those same shortcuts as well. And then your new standard becomes the easy way of doing it. And obviously that leads to poor service, maybe an inferior product. And the next logical aspect of that is the management starts having the headaches. You start getting employees who are stressed out because, well, what am I doing today? It's different than what I did yesterday. And I don't really know what to do, boss. They spend more time coming into your office asking questions. Hey, Steve, or hey, Jim, how do I do this? Because it's no longer the same how it used to be. Clients start calling up. Maybe they'll cancel you. They'll go on to your competition. Or maybe they want a refund where they never would have that in the past. Maybe they're will take 50% of their business and give it to your competitor as opposed to keeping it to you, one of your loyal, valued customers. And if we're not willing to let our employees know this is what we do, this is how we do it, this is when we do it, and as far as I'm concerned, most importantly, why we do something. Why are we going out and following this guideline, that rule, that regulation? If they don't understand that, they're not going to buy into it. And once they start doing that, they don't find they lose the reason to continue to maintain what we push every day at. And when that happens, obviously, not only do we put out a poor product, but my gray hair turns even grayer because I wind up putting out fires all day long as opposed to trying to run a productive and enjoyable operation.
You bring up some really interesting points. And a lot of times I'll hear people say that they kind of feel stuck in the middle because I have seen, and I'm sure you have as well, that people have gone through, long, extensive periods of not having the resources they need and, not having a good forecast and peak management. So I'm sitting here, I'm a few people short. I'm getting just bombarded, and it happens for weeks and weeks on end.
Sure.
That seems kind of like a hopeless situation for a lot of folks. And it's like, I think people, and because I know I've been there, you get the perception like, well, if they don't care, if they're not helping us, if they're not fixing it, why should I care?
Oh, I've heard those exact words so many times. And I remember a scenario many, many years ago. I promoted, again, coming out of the hotel industry, I promoted one of my captains who was first level supervisor to a junior manager. The position was open. She was very qualified. And we promoted her to a junior manager. And now she understood the challenging part where it's no longer just doing your job, it is maintaining the fact that everybody that you're responsible for has to do their job. And I said to her, it's a different mindset you have to take on. And half of your job has to be supporting your team. The other half has to be, as you said, giving them tools to be successful, whether it's fighting with upper management to increase your budget or to be shoulder to shoulder with them to actually help them do their job. And once they feel that managers aren't there, they lose the motivation. And as soon as motivation is lost, everything else goes from that point on. One thing I love with, I'm a stickler. We need to have, anybody who's ever worked for me knew that I had a core set of certain things that I would not budge on. And depending on the situation, they will vary. It could be from, you can't come in late, you have to have the right uniform on, you have to do so many different scenarios. And it changes from the industry, from the company itself as well, too. I didn't have to worry about those. As long as I monitored them literally every single day. And that's one of the things I would tell this new manager. You have to focus on the same things every single day, because just like our kids who are jumping on the bed, jumping on the couch, we can't just tell them, stop doing that, little Johnny, because they may stop it today, but as soon as you turn your back, it happens again. And a well-trained team will also start training their fellow employees. When they know what's expected of them, and they know that you will uphold them, you will hold their feet to the fire in whatever way that is, to assure that they maintain the standards that you personally or the company has put out. When they see one of their fellow employees doing wrong, or maybe not doing it as well as he or she should, they will go out and say, no, hey, Frank, that's not how we do it. This is how we do it. So I don't need to be over them, micromanaging them. I can actually go about and do other responsibilities, or maybe I can support another new employee who's maybe falling behind, or someone who has a little bit more questions, because obviously you may catch on to a job much quicker than I would. And so I may need a little more help from my managers. But if they don't know what to do and when to do it, they're going to do whatever is possible. And then that just creates so much trouble. I don't want that. I want a team that's productive. And again, if you have to spend time going out there and thinking, what should I do now? Because I had a little hiccup, whatever that hiccup is, then you're losing money, whether you lose money from a wasted product or poor service, or you have to return revenue to an upset client. And when we go about and when we're maintaining it, my job becomes much more easier, and obviously the headaches disappear.
So as I hear you talking, I start thinking about balance. I start thinking about, systems and following a system and adherence to the system and complying to the system. And then I also hear, like what we were talking about, is if we're doing all of these things, but yet we're still having, issues and struggles, that I, as a leader, need to be able to convey that effectively in a business acumen driven manner, to the people who I report to, so that ultimately, really, they can make a decision. They can make a decision on, whether we change the standard or the system, or they accept, the downfall and the mediocrity, or, we get more resources. I think there's still a lot of things that we need to look at from a leader perspective when we're talking about the front line. That is all about enablement and then execution.
Sure. And at the same time, we cannot be so strict and maintain our way of going about our business without the ability to change, without the ability to adapt to what the client's needs are. In a similar situation, you can hammer every single day, this is how it's done. There's no variation from that. But again, we're dealing with people. Well, we're not in a manufacturing situation where everything comes on a conveyor belt. There is no change. We know that. You're dealing with a living, breathing human at some aspect, and they will look at your business and your service very different than someone else. So just as we will tell people, this is why, this is how, this is where, this is when, this is the reason why you do it, you have to also give them latitude to make adjustments, but they don't just decide nilly-willy on, well, we're going to do whatever. You should be able to give them some options of how they can service the customer in a way that still provides the same parameters which service. And it's okay to do something, to give something away at a reduced price or for free if that's going to satisfy them. But yeah, we may not do the $2,000 free thing as, you know, as the hotels are doing, but you have to give them the latitude because they need to feel empowered. And if there is no opportunity to change, to adapt to the needs of a customer, then again, we throw our hands up and saying, well, this is how we do it. That's when you get those employees, no, we don't open the doors until this time. Well, I got 50 people outside want to come in and want to give me money to buy my product. It's okay to open the doors maybe a few minutes earlier, or whatever the situation is.
Well, and I think that's good. That's good insight. It reminds me of a little joke that you started talking about errors and variance and stuff. As I remember a Six Sigma joke that went something along the lines like this: while we would absolutely love to have zero errors, human beings are one Sigma machines.
True.
We're going to make errors. Steve DiGioia, it's great having you on the show today. Can you please share with the CX Igniters how they can get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with me through LinkedIn, just my name, you know how to spell it, or on Twitter at Steve DiGioia. I have my website, my blog, and as well as my tips on Thursday that goes out every single Thursday with some of my best tips and tactics to be able to take care of your customers and make a wonderful experience for your employees. And I would hope to see you there. And Jim, thank you so much. Great being
You're welcome.
here.
And of course, Steve is a frequent contributor to CX Global Media. And Steve, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, and we wish you the very best.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.